Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Online Craft Festival. We have a great lineup for you. We're delighted to have you here. It's going to be a lot of fun. So my name is Jackie Ralston, and I've been producing shows for more than 30 years. In that time, obviously, I have attended a lot of shows as well as produced them. And they have been under the name of the Boston Christmas Festival, which hopefully a lot of you have attended, and now under the New England Christmas Festival, which will be in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So I know, and so does my team, how important attending these craft festivals, holding them, having people come and supporting the artisan community is. When this situation happened that we're in right now, where all shows have been canceled, the team here at Artisan Promotions, we put our heads together and said, what can we do to help? And we decided this format of introducing you, fans of handmade products, to 4 artisans each week would be an interesting way for you to have a little bit more time getting to know the person behind the product. Because when you're at a show, you're walking into a booth and the exhibitor may well be busy. They may not have time to talk to you, or it may not even occur to you that you want to know a little bit more about them. But the interesting thing is they all have amazing stories. They all have twists and turns to their careers of how they got to where they are. So today you're going to meet Raelinda Woad, who's a storyteller jeweler, who makes storytelling jewelry. And then you're going to meet Fred Carpenter from Cape Cod Cutlery, who makes knives. And then Kate McCrea, who's part of the team behind McCrea's Candies. And finally, Lynne Puhalla, who is a potter and a basket weaver. Very interesting combination and unusual. So have fun, get to meet them. And we're going to start with Raelinda. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Jackie. Hello from Salem, Massachusetts. I'm doing well.
Good, good. So nice to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so the title of your company is Storyteller Jewelry. And it obviously means that you are a jeweler and you're also a storyteller. And the
I'm
interesting
the diagram, basically, between storytelling and jewelry making.
Sorry, say that once more.
I'm like the Venn diagram.
Right. Yeah. So you write these original stories and you then put them in your jewelry, which is pretty amazing. So lots of questions crop up. You know, what came first, being a storyteller or a jeweler? And how did you wind up deciding to put these two together?
I will answer the last question first. I did
Okay.
not decide, it just kind of happened to me. I was basically following my bliss of becoming a storyteller, and the jewelry just kind of folded in naturally. So I did go to Mass College of Art, where I majored in just about everything there was except jewelry making. And then when I
Amazing.
graduated, I needed to get a job, and the job that they found for me was working in a jewelry studio for Carol Souza Jewelry, and I loved it immediately. And one day I was in the studio with her making her beautiful designs, and I confided in her that I had this secret dream to be a storyteller, but I was too shy at that point in my life to actually pursue it. And she told me that the local high school was having a class on storytelling. I was too shy to take the class, and so Carol Souza, she is such a wonderful woman. She took the class with me, and that is how I
That's
began my journey as a storyteller.
good friend. Good friend. Wow, that's great. So let's just pull up your website so that people can see what it is that you do while we're continuing to talk about it. So you have a lot of themes here. They're mystical, magical, celestial, everything. So
Uh,
what would you like to talk about? Where would
yes,
you
I
go?
call my design motif mythical romantic.
let's open this one. And so you've got a story inside of each one. And maybe if we took time, it would be fun to have you read one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it's taking a while to load because they're beautiful pictures. Okay. So a flying rabbit,
Yes.
and this one is a pin,
Correct.
right?
I make my books as either pins or necklaces. In general, necklaces are more popular, although pins are making a comeback. I think partly thanks to steampunk.
Here to see if we can. So which necklace would you like me to open?
Well, I happen to be wearing the one with the dolphin and the harp, which has one of my favorite stories inside
Oh.
about a mermaid and a fisherman.
Would you like to take a minute and tell us about the story?
So it is my version of the classic tale of the mermaid and the fisherman. And in this story, a mermaid gets caught in a fisherman's net, and he frees her from it, and she rewards him with a cup of tea from the sea, brewed in the brine and steeped in the deep. And this tea has a very subtle magic to it that he doesn't appreciate till the end of his life.
What a nice story.
Thank you.
um, I'm sorry that this is taking a little bit long to load, but let's go back to your. Here's the Pegasus. It's always a wonderful motif, so I just thought I would open that up so people could get a closer view of it.
Okay. I don't know if you can look at the other pictures on that listing, because I do have.
Wait, on this particular one, or
Well,
go back to your
no,
home?
there's, that's just like the first photo, but there's several other photos you can look at, and they would show it open, so you could actually see the story inside. I believe you have to. There you go. Okay, that gives you an idea of its size. And oh, you know what? Oh, that's one of my newer writings. That's actually a spell that I wrote because before the whole Corona thing happened, I got an account with the Salem Witch Museum, and so I thought I better have a spell. So I wrote a spell.
That's just so fun and such an original, great idea. So you also have a category that you call blessing holders.
Yes, and those seem to be very popular right now. Um, so they are wings, and I make them with a hinge so that it can be opened and closed. And when you open them, I line the insides of them with a beautiful paper I get from Japan. It's called yuzen. And inside each one is also a little dragonfly holding a blank scroll of paper. And what people do, and generally they give them to somebody as a very special gift, they write a personal blessing or just a beautiful thought on the roll of paper and tuck it back inside the wing and then fold up the wings so that when the person receives the wings, they have the experience of opening the wings and seeing the beautiful insides and then taking out the paper and reading what their friend wrote.
How nice. What a great thought. And that sort of fits into, everybody's trying to figure out how to deal with COVID. And that's a nice, really nice thought and way to do that. So I think we'll stay right here because it's taking a little bit long to load things, but you've got so many beautiful images here. And what would you say are some of your most popular motifs?
Fairies, followed by fairies, and then fairies, the way it should be. So that one, I believe, has a story inside called Dream Wings. And it is about a girl who has the same dream every night that she has a beautiful pair of wings. And all night long, she flies through her dreams. But then the next morning, she always wakes up and the wings are gone. And so she decides that she will not get out of bed until her wings grow in while she's awake. And that is how her story starts.
Well, now everybody wants to know how it ends too. That's great. So, unfortunately, we are just about out of time. And why don't you tell us your website where people can go and order these beautiful necklaces and pins?
Thank you. Well, I can actually see it in the bottom of the screen. It's
Okay,
in the shop. So it's etsy.com/shop/storyteller jewelry. Or if you just Google storyteller jewelry, Raelinda, you'll get there too.
wonderful, great. Yes, you've got a beautiful Etsy page. It's obviously we can see lots of different images and lots of stories to tell and talk about. So, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Hopefully, we'll see you at a craft show soon.
Depend on it. We are going to get through this.
We are going to get through this. Yes, there's no question. So now I'm going to introduce you to Fred Carpenter, who is from Cape Cod Cutlery. Hey, Fred, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Everything. I love that picture behind you. It really says what you do. But let me
Yeah, thanks a
start
lot.
by a little bit of an introduction that says, in your bio, you say that you're a maker. And that's like a perfect word for craftspeople. It means that you can use your hands and your head and create just about anything. That's exactly what you need to be a craftsman. So, along with that, and sort of on the side of that, really, I have to share with our viewers that you are also passionate about medieval reenactments. And it actually, that's possibly how you started, because you were making armor to protect yourself when you were doing these reenactments. And in order to make the armor, you had to get yourself involved in metalworking and silversmithing, and decided that since you liked it, maybe there was something else you could do with those skills. So now that I've completely compressed your life, why don't you tell it to us in your words?
Yeah, I had gotten into blacksmithing about 15, 20 years ago. I took a weekend course. I got an anvil. I got a forge. I messed around with it a bit. I made some armor. And then my friend Tom said, "Hey, I want to make a knife," and he'd been watching YouTube videos. So I said, "Okay." We decided to try making a knife. We started uh, watching YouTube videos, picking up some more tools, and here we are.
Is it possible for you to
About
speak
six
just a
years
little
later.
bit, speak a little bit louder?
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
can you
great.
hear me?
Yeah, a little bit more volume, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, how's
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
That better?
yep, yep. That's good.
Okay.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so here we are. We're about 5 years into it, and we're making knives, and we're selling them. We've been selling them all at farmers markets up and down the Cape and at craft shows, and selling a little bit online, trying to work on our online promotion right now. Yeah.
That's why we're here. People need to know
Right.
that you can sell these beautiful knives online. So, having said that, let's pull up your website.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah,
So,
it's
should we
basically
go?
written as a blog, but then there's also pages that you can go to for shopping and for galleries. We have galleries. We also have a store. The main things we do: we make knives, we also sharpen knives, and we repair and recondition old beloved family knives. So that's kind of the three aspects that I really enjoy and that we tend to do a lot of.
So what, how do people shop for knives? Is it for the function? Is it because it's a
Yeah.
thing of beauty and they love the handle and the wood, or is it the metal, or what's that process?
Well, there's different types of customers. Some people are really into function. Some of them are very attracted by the beauty of the thing. And it depends what you're using it for. Form and function and beauty. It's something we try and put into all our knives. We really want all of our knives to be used and used hard. We guarantee them 100%, so don't take it and think it's too pretty to use and put it on a shelf. We want it to be used. If anything goes wrong, we take care of it. So just use it with confidence, and that's kind of the main thing. We say collectors appreciated, users preferred. So that's kind of our motto here. We don't mind people buying them and putting them on a shelf. We'd much rather see them used.
So you have a lot of different functions possible, and you and I were talking about the fact that the kitchen knives are particularly popular, and
Yeah.
want to point us to a particular picture here.
Um, well, yeah. See, right there, the kind of flat-fronted knife, the McCrea style knife that was there.
These?
You're on our oyster knives right now. No, our
Yeah.
oyster knives are one of our best sellers. We are been big oyster country up here, and we have a lot of shuckers
Yeah.
and farmers using our knives. They really love them. So that's one of our big flagship products. But we make about 13 different production knives standard, but then we also do custom work. So if anybody has something they want made, they can let us make it for them. Right there, those knives you're looking at. Right there, those kitchen knives, those are kind of Asian style inspired. There's some European inspired knives there. And we like to get creative with the handles. Sometimes we use synthetic materials, sometimes we use wood. It all depends on what we have and what we feel like putting on a knife and what people are interested in. And again, function too. If it's something that's going to be in the wet a lot, used it outside a lot, you might want some type of synthetic material. Versus wood. It depends. It all depends on what the individual wants. We're very into making an individual knife for an individual person.
What is the difference between the Asian and the European inspired, as you said?
Well, it's basically shape and function. The Asian knives tend to be very good vegetable knives in general. They tend to be very popular now. People really like the Asian look, the Asian style knife. So we pay kind of homage to it. We're not saying we're making Japanese chef knives. We're making, Americanized versions that are a little more durable, a little more rugged. The Japanese knives from Japan tend to be very hard, which makes them very sharp, but also makes the edges very brittle. So when Americans get them and try opening up lobsters with them, or are cutting heavy boned animals, sometimes the knives really chip up and get beaten up. So our knives are much more durable. They're you can use them on anything, but it's just the shape and design really has caught popular imagination. People really like it.
Can you talk about these right here? What this photo is?
Those are kiridashis. A kiridashi is kind of like everybody's first knife in Japan. Little kids use them to sharpen pencils. It's just a little utility knife. It's a single bevel edge. Carpenters use them a lot for marking straight lines because they're flat on one side and they only have one bevel. So when you put it up against like a ruler to mark your wood, it makes a perfectly straight line. So that's something we like to make once in a while too. They're fun. Yeah.
You mentioned to me that you are also making a golf divot tool. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we started making some little golf divot tools. On Cape Cod, we're, everything, you can't turn around without running into a golf.
Sure.
Golf. What do they call those places where people play golf? Golf course.
A golf course.
Yeah, of course, a golf course. And so we started making some little golf divot tools out of Damascus steel, and putting a little bit of mammoth on them, a little mosaic pin in them. So they're really fancy golf divot repair tools. And so they've been very popular with the golfers that want to show off, have a little flashy bit of jewelry, and say, hey, check out my really cool divot marker repair tool. So yeah, it's kind of fun. We try and find little sideline niches in our market around the Cape here.
Sure.
Yeah, those are some Japanese inspired knives. A lot of Japanese traditional knives were single bevel edges. We do single bevel edge knives, as well as double bevels, which are more common in European knives. And modern Japanese knives use all double bevels now, but we still do single bevel edges. And all the ones from Japan are designed for right-handed people only. But we also make left-handed sushi knives and things like that for people who want a left-handed knife, because the Japanese don't believe in left-handedness, I don't think.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We are out of time, and you want to mention your website as well?
Yeah, CapeCodCutlery.com. Pretty simple.
There
To
you
the point.
go.
You can buy stuff right off line if you're interested in custom orders.
Yeah.
Send me an email, Fred at CapeCodCutlery.com, and we will talk about what you want.
Terrific. Thank you. That's wonderful. Obviously, you have a big range of handles and the knives themselves. So,
Different steels,
yeah,
a lot of stuff.
yeah, perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you at the New England Christmas Festival in November. So now we're going to talk to Kate McCrea from McCrea's Candies.
Hi.
Hello, Kate. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Jack?
Good. Very well. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
You know, all the artisans that I talk to, they all have interesting stories of how they got started. So you and your husband, who are the team behind McCrea's Candies,
Yes.
apparently you met as research technicians.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's quite a story to go from there to making handcrafted caramels. But I know you mentioned to me that and on your website it says your mission is to make the best caramels in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you took some of the guidelines and skills that you learned from your Arctic experience to this. And that would be, a sense of take your time.
Mm-hmm.
Needs to be rushed, a sense of being in the moment,
Yes.
a sense of the purity that living in the Arctic would make you feel. So, putting it in your words, how did you get from there to here?
Well, really, candy making is sugar chemistry. And I think one of the biggest things we took from our science careers and working out in the environment is the beauty of natural processes. So really cooking the caramel using real food ingredients, letting the sugar cook with the fats and the butter and the cream, and giving it the time to develop its flavor gives our product a really in-depth and wonderful flavor and texture.
But why caramels? Why not chocolates or taffy?
Right. So caramel came to be, my husband made candy with his mom a lot as a kid. And the year that we founded, we had a very good friend whose daughter was in a body cast over Halloween. And Halloween apples, you just think caramel, and made a batch, and it was phenomenal, and we just kept going from there.
That's great. So, well, let's take a look at your website and look at some of these beautiful. I think what's so great is that you have beautiful packaging, and it just speaks to a special moment when you unwrap it and put it in your mouth.
Absolutely. We know that McCrea's is very often a gift. We often have people buy two, one for the gift and one for myself, but it's so often given to hostesses, and that we really wanted it to be a beautiful package.
So here's your kitchen.
Yeah.
Great. And the whole cooking process.
Yeah.
Which, as you just said, you want to take your time, you want to let the flavors melt into each other. This looks like it's going to taste wonderful. And then rolling it out, right? And do you have to wait for it to cool down, or how does that work?
Yes, it has to cool until it's malleable, but not too soft. So we figure out exactly what that texture should be, so that we can rope it out into a long snake and put it into our wrapping machine. So the antique wrapper.
Is there a reason for having an antique wrapper?
It's kind of funny. It's one of the most common machines used for candy companies our size. And It was made in Massachusetts about a year ago. It does an excellent job. It was made to do one thing, and it does it beautifully.
Great, good. Well, that's what this whole industry is about, right? You know, the old techniques and not using machines. We're a throwback from that standpoint.
Yes.
Talk about your packaging here.
So we have tubes. First of all of our packaging is made in the United States, which is something we're very proud of. It's all paper-based, so it's biodegradable. And you'll see we have tubes as well as boxes and little pillow packs that have 5 caramels in each one. And there's varying ways. If you want the biggest assortment, you go with the families. The box has 4 pieces of each of 9 flavors, or a tube has 2 pieces of each of 9 flavors. And then depending on who you want to share it with or who you want to give it to, you can go with a party box where you have 4 flavors, or this wonderful extended family that has all the flavors in it. Yeah, we have.
So let's talk about some of your flavors.
Yeah, we have a lot of flavors.
So these are the flavors that we're looking at now, right?
Yes, correct. You have single malt Scotch, vanilla, Cape Cod, sea salt has that nice white salt in it. Tapped maple, which is made with maple syrup from New England. Rosemary, truffle, sea salt is a wonderful. We steep the rosemary in the cream, and then we add truffle sea salt right at the end. It's a savory caramel. Ginger fusion, we use fresh ginger to achieve that flavor. We have chocolate caramel. We have a mocha, which is a mixture of chocolate and coffee. Cafe Noir is for that coffee lover who would chew an espresso bean. We grind up the coffee and put it right in there, so you actually have a texture to it. And Black Lava Sea Salt, the last one, is actually one of our best-selling. It is our best-selling flavor as a single flavor. You get smooth caramel, and in that buttery, sweet, smooth caramel, you get a crunch of salt, and it's absolutely wonderful. And finally, we do also have gift cards. So you can always send a gift card to friends or family and allow them to choose what they'd like.
So I have to ask you about the Black Lava Sea Salt. You chose it because of the taste combination, but because the black color disappears into the caramel, or is it a different taste than a regular sea salt?
So the black is a result of a little bit of carbon, which does counteract the bitterness of some sea salts. However, it also looks absolutely beautiful in the caramel. It's a nice contrast between the rich brown of the caramel and the beautiful black color of the sea salt. The Cape Cod sea salt is a flake salt. It melts a little bit more into the caramel, so you have more of a salty caramel flavor. So it's really interesting to see just what different kinds of salt can achieve in a caramel.
Mm-hmm. So they all sound delicious. I don't know. I think I'd have to go with the box that allows me to have a couple of each.
Yes.
But you mentioned a great sort of quarantine activity that involves your caramels about Zoom tastings. Share that with us. Yeah.
So we have, when you get a flavor family box or a tube as well, you say you have a group of friends or family, you can go on our website and download a tasting guide. So we have this guide that will tell you some lovely wine and beer pairings that you might want to do. We have a little tasting mat, so it's kind of a little bit washed out. There we go. You can kind of see it. So you can set up your different flavors on your mat and taste them while on Zoom and share that experience with your friends or your family. We have different information about all the different flavors, and it's just sort of something fun to share an experience, even though we can't be together. By sharing that taste experience, you end up really feeling a lot closer to the people.
I think that's a pretty creative Zoom meeting. Good for you. Well, thank you for coming on, and you want to tell us your website? I think everybody knows.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
it's nice to hear it.
www.mccreascandies.com.
Yeah, so that double C is important. So
Absolutely, yes.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you at the next show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. So now we're going to talk to Lynne Puhalla from Puhalla Studios. And she's another very interesting craftsman because she is combining two mediums that don't normally get combined: basket weaving and pottery. And a little bit of interesting angles in her picture. There you are.
All right, now I'm back. Can you see me?
We can see you. Yes, but James, she is sideways. So if you can make her right side up, her head's pointing to 3 o'clock. That would be great. Otherwise, we'll just talk to you sideways.
Awesome. I can go up.
There you go. There you go. Perfect. Okay, that's great.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. So glad to have you here. Yeah. So I'm just
Studio. How are you?
you know,
Good.
to combine basket weaving and pottery is a pretty unusual way to go. And and beyond that, you don't work with a wheel, you work with slab clay. So I think you told me that you wanted to become an expert in working with slab clay. So you begged a well-known potter to take you on as an intern so that you could learn everything that you could, and that worked. And then you move on and open your own studio and say, I think I'm going to combine these two things. So you have a degree in design and a degree in sculpture, so you're well qualified to do whatever you want. But your baskets are not normal baskets. They have undulating shape and they're very interesting. And we'll pull one up in a second, but we can see one over your shoulder, which is.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of things in the works in here. When I roll the clay, I start with basically this is a bowl made out of. Whoops, let me get it into the right angle here.
Yeah.
A bowl made out of clay, and so in the edges of it, I put these little holes. Can you see the holes? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Perfectly. Yeah.
So then what laces through those holes become the upright ribs to the basket, like what you're seeing in some of these that are in process.
Wow.
So I actually weave it right on the clay piece. So I can get some pretty wacky shapes just based on what the clay is doing. I have this one that I finished. And so
I love that. That's beautiful. So, I see. And the pottery's on the bottom. Just hold that up again. The pottery's on the bottom.
Correct.
And that's
where it's linked in there. And so once I get it out of the kiln, see what the pottery has done, then I start dyeing the reed and finding whatever the beads are and stuff like that. I'm a kind of a bead hoarder, so I have all kinds of weird things around here. And and then just take it from there. I'm never sure what the shapes are going to do. So it's always this real random, interesting journey because we kind of have to have a little conversation sometimes, me and the piece,
Exactly. It's sort of telling you what kind of a shape it wants to be and what size it is.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a push-pull there,
Yeah. So let's pull up your website because you do actually do some pottery pieces that are not. We have to, I think, start with the basket.
Oh, the baskets, yeah.
Because we were just there, and then we'll move over to your pottery pieces. There's the piece that we were just looking at.
Yeah, I just loaded that on there this morning.
Beautiful, and you can see
that one. Go into that one, the one you just had there for a second. Go back onto that one for a second.
This one?
Nope, that other one before this.
The previous one. This one.
Yeah, that one. Go into that one for a second because there's some interesting detail on that one. If you open that up and go down into some of those other photos, look at the detail of the other one, the farthest one over to the far right.
This one.
Yeah, see? So I did the bead
Yeah, so
weaving.
you've put beads into this one.
Yeah, I actually did the bead weaving last winter because it was one of those things that was on my sort of list of, oh, I've always wanted to try that. Shoot me in the head on that one. That was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I have a bit of playtime when I
think
do the baskets.
while we're here, yeah. So you've got, let's look at this one because now you've got some feathers introduced
Yeah.
and shells.
Kind of has a feather boa on it. It started getting this kind of crazy sort of whimsical style to it. It has a lace doily pattern on the bottom. And I started weaving it, and then I got these sort of iridescent beads and put them up there. And by the time I finished, it was like, well, this thing is just screaming for a feather boa. So sometimes I can get pretty good size too. I mean, I work rather small. I've got one of them on there in my woodlands thing that is over in my portfolio page. That's rather small in comparison to, I work with fairly good size scale. The guy that I worked with as a potter always worked with large things, always made big things. And so I guess that kind of rubbed off on me. But that one's got feathers and some copper findings that I have and some beads on the top. So if you look at the far right-hand side,
Yep,
take a look at that one. That one's probably the better photo. And so it shows you a little bit of the inside, but these feathers that kind of come over the nest on to the edge.
that's spectacular. But I don't want to run out of time before getting to your nature category.
Yeah, please.
Because we need to talk about what you do with leaves.
Yeah.
Let's see, this is.
Our pottery. My husband and I both work in the studio here, but our pottery we use live leaves from out of our garden. So I grow extensive gardens. Another one of my things, and so that happens to be a tomato leaf on that plate. And so what we do is we actually we're rolling slabs, so we're putting it as flat as a pancake. When you when you throw on a wheel, you start with a basic shape. So trying to tweak the shape by pressing something onto it always warps your plate. In our case, we do it just the opposite. We put the leaf on first, and then we use a whole bunch of old junky bowls that we happen to have here in the studio, old Corellware and stuff, to just hold the shape while it dries. So the leaf actually burns away in the kiln. So we incinerate the leaf, then put a stain on it, wipe the stain back off, and clear glaze it. So the leaf impressions are actually like making fossils. They're actual live leaf prints, really.
Whoops. Okay, well, I like that picture, but apparently it went away. Yeah.
So when, for example, right behind me, I have some pieces. This still has the leaf on it. This was some greenery we just did last weekend. So it's drying. So it hasn't been fired yet. But once it gets fired and I put my stain on it, then I end up essentially with that same type of an image.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So yeah, the detail is quite phenomenal because we're really working with the real deal.
So
all of my work is dishwasher safe, oven proof, microwave safe.
Important to say. Yeah.
So it's meant to be used. We want it to be. I call it garden to table. I'm an avid gardener, and it's the thing now. You know what I mean? And it's sort of the.
I'm just jealous of your lifestyle. You're out in the garden. You're picking beautiful memories from nature. You're playing with clay, and it just seems like a very peaceful choice.
Yeah, except that I like to be hectic and be on the road for the summertime shows. As much as I love my studio work, I do miss all my friends, and I do like to be on the road too.
Yeah,
so, I do love my job.
And to that point, there is a camaraderie within the crafts world, and have so many friends, and it's great to show up at a show and go, I didn't know you were going to be here.
I know.
So thank you very much for coming on with us and sharing
pleasure.
your beautiful work. And we'll see you in November. And between now and then, hopefully you'll have a lot of success online and the shows will come back and we'll all be happy again.
Awesome. Yes, that's what we're all hoping. So yeah, check me out, puhallastudios.com. And I've just opened up a little shop on Etsy, not fully stocked yet, but so it's also under Puhalla Studios. So
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we hope that you all have really enjoyed today's artisans and you're as wowed by them as we are. Every week we find really interesting artisans that we hope you enjoy and get inspired to buy some of their handcrafted work. Obviously, this is the only way that you can stay connected to them right now, is to support them. And we ask all of you to help us create a big community by subscribing to this YouTube channel and liking us on Facebook and telling all of your friends, so that we can really build a nice community here of people who love handcrafts and want to keep our craftspeople vibrant and connected, because we don't want to lose them. They're an important part of the soul of our country, and we want to be able to go to shows for years to come and have them be there. So please help us by liking it. And if you want to see this video again, you can see it at NE or New England ChristmasFestival.com, or any of the previous videos that we've done. Lots of wonderful craftspeople you'll find there. So be sure and come back and join us again next Friday at 2 o'clock for another 4 wonderful artisans. And in the meantime,